Okay, today we are making broccoli cheese soup. We're going to start out with the vegetables. We're going to do 4 carrots. We're going to do a crown of broccoli. You can also do the equivalent in florets, just roughly this amount only in florets, and a small onion. So we want to chop those, and not into small pieces, large chunks. So we cut off the tops. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Sorry. Still working on the logistics of doing this by myself. The tops, and then in half for the carrots. Get this out of the way. Okay, and then in half. And again. And again. This is not the best knife for this, but I used my other one earlier. And it's still in the dishwasher, which is not running this time, by the way. Oh, goody. And then you want to chop off the top and the bottom. At least this is how I do onions. You cut it in half, and you take off the outer skin here. Ta-da! And then for this particular recipe, you want to cut the onions in quarters, like so. Then you want to bring about 1 inch of water to a boil. Come over here and I'll show you what that looks like. This is going to be boiling in just a minute here. And then you want to put either a steamer tray, or I have kind of a colander thing that actually fits down in, or if you don't have one of those, you can just put a 1/2 inch of water in there and set your vegetables just right down in the water. It's just then you have to keep an eye on it for all 10 minutes that it's steaming to make sure that the water doesn't completely boil out. So we're going to go ahead and put the steamer tray in here, like so. And then we are going to take our vegetables and just put them in there. Oh, hey. Thank you, camera. We are here to make you sick. And there we go. Now you're going to put the lid on, and you're going to let these steam for just about 10 minutes. And then I will be back with you. Okay, once it's been 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to find that your vegetables, your broccoli is going to turn a darker color, your onions are going to turn clear, and your carrots are going to be tender, and that's what we're shooting for. So once we get to that point, we're going to bring the stuff back over to the cutting board. Look, there we are. And we're going to do it carefully, so we do not burn ourselves, because as you all know, you can burn yourself with steam. And for the broccoli and the carrots, you can chop it with a knife. And then I like to do the onions with a food processor, because that makes them nice and smooth and makes it into more of a soup and less of a stew. So now that you've got these, you can kind of just chop the broccoli. And since we're going for soup and not stew, you want to do it one way and then chop it down the other way. And that'll make sure that it's nice and smooth in the soup. It's just little particles of broccoli instead of huge chunks of broccoli. Now the next part we're going to do after we're done chopping our vegetables, we're going to empty out the pot we just steamed them in. You don't want to use that water because it's gross. I tried that one time. It didn't work out very well. So from there, you're going to add 1 cup of either chicken or vegetable broth, and then a cup of milk. You want to add these vegetables as we finish the chopping them to it, and then you're going to bring it to almost a boil, more like where it looks like it's going to boil, but it's not. And keep it there. Don't get it any hot. You don't want it to boil. And this is actually the part where you have to become more attentive, because you don't want your milk or cheese to curdle as well. So you're going to have to kind of hang out next to your soup for a little while. But it's really, after you chop the vegetables, it only has about 10 minutes to completion. So it's not that bad. I mean, this whole recipe takes 30 to 45 minutes maybe at its longest. And people think it's really hard, but it's actually really super easy. Okay, so those are chopped. I'm going to take out the big chunks just because my youngest is picky.
Hi, I'm Christine's dad. I'm interrupting this video for just a minute to give you a little trick of my own. The first time I made this recipe, I was a bachelor, and I didn't have the patience to do all that chopping. So after I steamed the onions and the carrots and the broccoli, I just threw it into a blender, put in the chicken broth, and blended it all up. And it just worked out fine. Christine has done it since then, and it worked out well for her as well. So that's a little time-saving tip of my own that will make making this soup a little easier and speeded up the process.
And like I said, we're going to go ahead and put the onions in my food processor and kind of almost make a paste out of them, because they tend to, okay, let's be completely honest. Because if my youngest can see onions in the soup, he'll get all finicky about it, so I just don't want to deal with it. So I go ahead and I make the onions into kind of a paste with the food processor, like so. Look at that. And then we're going to move these out of the way, chop up our carrots, and then we're ready to do the body of our soup. So I'll see you then. Okay, I apologize for the horrible camera work on that last one. Unfortunately, I really am stuck with kind of one take here. So sorry about that. Okay, so we have an empty pot, and we're going to add 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of chicken broth. I'm going to keep the heat on medium, and then we're going to put in our carrots and our onions, and then I went ahead and pureed the broccoli, because I remember last time I decided to go ahead and puree that too, and I liked the result better. So basically just the same thing I did with the onions. You stir those in your food processor, and I'll take you over here and show you what this is looking like here in just a second. Come on, camera, come with me on this one. Whee! Okay, so here we are inside the pot. Okay, so we want to blend that all together, make it into kind of a amorphous blob. And then from here, you are going to add about 12 ounces of cheddar cheese. I like to use sharp cheddar, but it's up to how sharp you like your cheese. You can do it, if you've got blocks of cheese, you just cut it into cubes. It'll only take slightly longer to melt. At my local store, cheese is the exact same price, whether you get it in cubes or shredded, and since it melts faster, I usually buy the shreds. As I mentioned earlier, from this point on, you're going to want to kind of keep an eye on it, because you don't want the heat to get so high that you curdle your cheese. So keep your heat on about medium, and slowly this will melt. And once it's all melted, we're going to add 1 can of Campbell's cream of onion soup. Now you can skip that step if you're a purist and you don't want to use any cream of soups. But the reason why we do that is because if you have any leftovers at all, if you keep them in the fridge, the oils will separate from the cheese. What the soup brings to the table is emulsifiers, and they cause the soup to keep from separating and stay basically the same texture that it is when you have it now, when you have it in the pot. So we have our cheese starting to melt. It's starting to look a bit more like soup and less like yuck, which is good. And so while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and open this can of soup. And when I was first putting together this recipe, basically it's cobbled together off a couple of different online recipes that I found. I was having a problem with having leftovers and not knowing what to do with them, because when I put them in the fridge, they would just turn to gross. And this was the suggestion, only they said cream of mushroom soup. But I found the cream of mushroom soup did not go with the flavor of the soup nearly as well as the, see if I can, well, it's sort of better, maybe not. Turn down the brightness a little, maybe. Good enough. So now we are starting to get soup. We're going to talk about serving options. You can put it in just a regular bowl and serve it with a big hunk of bread, which is how I do it sometimes. Or if your local store is like mine and occasionally bread bowls go on sale, I like to do those when I can. Sometimes I like to make bread bowls, although the last 2 times my recipe has not turned out the way it did the first several times I made them. So until I figure out what's going wrong with that recipe, I'm not going to share it with you guys, because I want it to turn out for you. So let me get in a little bit closer here, and you can see what we're looking at. Ooh, sorry, didn't break your neck there. But this is the basic soup, and once I put it in the bread bowls, which is how I'm serving it today, I am actually going to sprinkle a little bit of cayenne pepper on top. You can do that with cayenne pepper, or if you like a little kick but not real spicy, you can do it with paprika. And then of course my youngest son doesn't like anything in his at all. So the soup pretty much at this point is ready. It's ready to be served, and so you can see it's simple, but I mean when I serve this, people are like, oh wow, this is great, you have to give me the recipe. So I'm giving you the recipe. I will see you in a second to do bread bowls. Okay, now I've moved the soup into a decorative bowl, which I intend to put on the table, because what generally happens with bread bowls is that you eat the soup out and you start to eat around the edges, and then you run out of soup and you're like, well geez, it's good and all, but I would like more soup. So I leave the soup on the table. So you're going to cut at an inward angle and go around in a circle like this, and then you're going to pull out your center and serve it on the side. And you're going to serve your soup into your bread bowl like so. And if it spills over a little bit, that's okay, because it's kind of like just adding a little bit of ambiance there. Ooh, look how, you know, homey and delicious and like a pub it is. It's spilling over. And then you want to sprinkle your paprika or cayenne or skip altogether on top. And there you have it. Check that out, you guys. Doesn't it look good? I'm telling you, it's awesome. I'll see you later.